I have what I want. And no one will ever take it from me again.
Welcome everyone to What the Fiction, and welcome to the 5th episode of WandaVision's Deep Dive on a very special episode. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, and with me is...
Kyle Gould. Hi. Welcome.
You're doing the full Bettany, as I called it on Twitter.
1 month in.
1 month in of doing these? No, this is our... Oh, you're right.
Yep.
You're right. This is our 4th episode of doing this, so... Thanks, everyone, for coming out and sharing speculation with us kind of throughout the week. It's always fun, and especially to be super excited to join us in this deep dive. It is always awesome to have other people along, like, enjoying the show with us. Dominic, yay! See some familiar faces in the chat, so thank you so much for coming out.
Exactly. Okay, so we start things off every single time with a delightful beverage. So today I have created 2 drinks based on this episode, one for Marie-Claire, one for myself. This one here is called a Acting Director Tyler Hayward. It is 2 ounces of coconut milk.
Okay.
2 ounces. Oh no, wait, is that the wrong one? This is the credits roll. I've forgotten the drinks entirely at this point. They're on Twitter, so that's delightful. And it should be tasty, but it's 2 ounces of coconut milk, 2 ounces of spiced rum, and 2 ounces of Baileys. And this is actually called After the Credits Roll, because literally you'll drink it and then you'll want more, just like Vision does in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
So
he did that. That's
there you go. And after the credits roll...
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
There's a lot going on in that. And it's very strong.
It should be strong. Spiced rum is very powerful.
Oh my god, it's spiced rum. Oh no.
I know, right? Yeah, it should be like you should. Yeah, there's stuff should happen after the credits roll. I haven't tried it yet. I'll try it too.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you did it. Yeah.
Coconut.
It's a lot of coconut.
My favorite.
And you hate coconut so much.
I really like the coconut. But here we go with the other drink is, that was after the credits roll. This one is called Acting Director Tyler Hayward. And it is 2 ounces of Coke, 2 ounces of absolute vanilla vodka, and 2 ounces of creme de banane. Another name for this drink is Absolutely Bananas, which, I mean, is exactly who Acting Director Tyler Hayward is. He's
vanilla.
Absolutely Bananas.
He's vanilla AF, so...
Oh, I hate him so much. Even more as time
I know.
goes by.
The more we learn about this guy, the more we're like, he's the worst.
Try that.
Okay.
Should taste a lot like cough syrup. Because, I mean, it's creme de banane, so it's going to do that. But I quite like it.
Oh.
So there we go.
It's like a banana. It doesn't taste like the banana penicillin, if you're thinking.
No.
Yeah.
And the vanilla vodka really cuts into that, too.
It's gross.
Anyway.
Like, you would think it would be like a banana cream pie. But
yes,
no.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
I would actually normally recommend putting this into a tall glass with a lot more Coke, and that'll cut that real liqueur taste that'll come out of it. But you'll still get the banana, and you'll still get the vanilla. Yum!
Oh my god, he's a banana man. All right, before we get into like the PowerPoint presentation, which you always have to set a limit on me, and I always like, I'm always like, there's more in this episode. How is there possibly more to talk about every single episode? But it's because this show is just so well thought out, and I'm really loving it. And so what did you think of this episode?
I was like, costume changes galore, Vision.
Yeah.
That was one of my first thoughts. I told Marie Claire after I watched it at 1:00 in the morning on Friday when it first came out. I literally was hitting refresh at 12:59 until it popped up, and then I watched it right away. So I think I was one of the first people to finish the whole thing through. I want to say it is my favorite episode of the whole bunch so far, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
I know, but it's just because metatextually, there are so many different things happening in this episode, and there are so many threads that are getting interwoven finally. We knew this was going to be a tapestry piece. We knew this was going to be complicated because of the setup we got over the first 4 episodes. They really delivered on this one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of... It followed what I thought would happen, which is like things are starting to break down for Wanda. There was a lot more Vision confrontation with Wanda, which I was super happy about because conflict is part of what breeds change in characters, and that made me super happy because it's all in line with what I always hoped about this episode in this show. And you know, it's just really nice to see things that I'm like, hey, typically Hollywood ignores this, you know, the pain of a woman grieving about, you know, the loss of her husband. It's something Hollywood typically ignores and is just like, suck it up, women.
You're like allowed one, and then it's a massive Oscar nominee in a given year, and then you don't get any more. So you just get one for the Oscar nominee worthiness of it, like atonement or whatnot, or precious.
Yeah.
And then you don't get any more than that. This is what you get.
Yeah, and so like women have to be tough all the time, and it's just really nice to see them lean into that. And then not only that, but have us as the audience reflected in the eyes of Monica and Darcy and Jimmy, who are basically like our spokespeople for the show in the show, being like, no, we empathize with her. We want to help her. Like, even though like Monica is super pissed off, Wanda was super pissed off at Monica.
Right.
Like she still wants to help. She's like, I know what this is like. She knows what grief is like, and she's gone into that. And so, like, to me, this is just an exceptional episode, and it's becoming more and more complicated. There's more and more threads of plot being built.
Yeah.
And
it's more and more complicated. Like, our house is now more and more complicated. It's not just a little bungalow for a happy newlywed. It's a full family house.
Yeah.
With room, probably, for an extended stay guest.
Yes, exactly. And they've added more characters and they've added more complexity, but it's all about the different threads that they're weaving in, and it's handling all of this with care. And one thing that is also really smart is that because of how Darcy, Jimmy, and Monica react to the environment and to what is happening with the broadcast and to Wanda herself, they are able to speak for the audience and bring the audience up to speed if maybe they aren't as familiar with the different aspects of the MCU, or even now the extended Marvel universe, because now certain aspects of the Marvel universe are being brought in that, hey, maybe people aren't up to speed on. Like, did you watch the Fox X-Men movies that came out just a couple of years ago? You know, like, exactly. Yeah. So, like, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but there isn't an expectation that you would have to do that, although you would have been a little bit confused. And so we're going to talk about that character in particular, just to bring people up to speed if they haven't necessarily watched those movies. But one of the things that I talked about with our kids as we were watching the MCU, because the Spider-Man casting information had started to come out, I was like, well, now we have to watch the other Spider-Mans because they're now all prequels. And if you don't know, it's now said that the other 2 Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, are both going to be present in the new Spider-Man movie. So it's like, these are now prequels to the Spider Universe. And it's like the smartest way to blend all of the movies into the same movie structure, because then they all matter. Everything matters now.
That American melting pot analogy is really in play here. Let's just throw everything into the pot, stir it all up.
Yeah, but you know, there's things that you could learn from these movies, and they're saying that they all matter. And it, to me, it's like a mythical or folklore type telling of everything. It's like, yes, there's multiple versions of the truth out there, and it's so smart, and it makes me so happy that they thought of a smart way to do this, and it's all like canonically possible and all within the universe anyways, right?
Yeah.
So I just think like kudos to the people that are thinking this through and planning it out, because they really have thought a lot. Yep.
Hooray. I was reading an article that says that Marvel movies are planned 6 to 9 years out before they're released.
Oh.
So they literally are working on probably phase 7 right now in order to have everything in position for that to occur. Just because it takes like at least 2 to 3 years for a movie to go from concept to actualization. You have to think even further out because you want to make those tie-ins and connections and everything else possible. So when they come with a pitch like WandaVision, which probably happened only recently, I would think that they had to really consider what they were doing and how they were implementing it in order to make it come to fruition, to match up and tie into the movies.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot to be said about, and I don't think we know officially how they plan everything out and make sure it all works out. But it seems like Kevin Feige is in the know of everything, so maybe it's something that he personally at least is in charge of the direction, because he always is like, yes, this was my idea. Like, he's always like that. So I just he's got to at least have a hand, or like people report to him being like, okay, so 5 years from now we're going to do XYZ. And it's also kind of interesting because from a multi-story threaded, you know, complicated story perspective, having a delay on something like Black Widow, which is potentially tying into the overall story meta plot of where they're going to, right? That could, like, them having to push back the release of it and choosing to be waiting until COVID is done is really, wow. Okay, so this is not only important, but they also expect it to make a lot of money in theaters when it can get into theaters, because some of these decisions are money based too. I think they should just bite the bullet and do what they're doing with Rava and with the other movies that are being released on Disney Plus.
You want to tell a story in your lifetime, you gotta start telling the story.
Yeah. So sometimes you can't depend on whether things are good in the world around us. So
I mean, Kevin Feige's got to realize he has at the most 10 to 15 years doing the job he's doing right now before he's going to be moved on to other things. And can he tell all of the stories that he wants to tell in the time that he has available?
Because as soon as he hands it off,
only have so much time.
And as soon as he hands it off,
is a main thing that I want to talk about in this
okay.
episode today.
Okay, I love it. Okay. So let's talk and start to get into our PowerPoint presentation. It's become my thing.
Well, key to note that we don't see this screen until like 6 minutes into the movie.
I know.
Show. So that was kind of cool. I really liked that.
Yeah, and then the actual commercial break was used to kind of come back from the other reality. This was used to fade into the other, like the external reality, and
yeah. Because we got the previously on WandaVision.
Yeah.
And then we go through the things to tie you up and catch you up because it's been a week and you probably forgot it. But then they lead right into them with the kids, and we don't get this part here until after that, which I thought was really cool.
And I actually stole the one that's later on when they're looking at the screen, like the trio outside of the bubble, out of the hex, is looking at the screen, because I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, you know, it was a good shot. There's so many beautifully shot shots, and I wish I had looked up who directed this one specifically, but
the DP, probably the director of photography as well, is hugely relevant in this particular episode.
So, you know, we have the intro with Wanda and Vision, and, you know, they're like, Wanda's like trying to plead with the baby that she's holding, and Vision walks downstairs, and he cried more because of the descent of man. And I feel like this was a really subtle reference to the fact that both Billy and Tommy are considered to be mutants. And of course, Wanda too in other universes. But, the descent of man is all about evolution and how humans and other creatures in the world become and change. And like there's this beautiful speech by Professor X in like the original X-Men movie where he talks about mutation. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is what they're saying with this like really cute little Easter egg to say, yeah, I don't really like to be called a mutant, but that's what's
also
being
Vision
said.
himself is the evolution of man, right?
Oh yeah.
Too. So there's lots of ways you can peel that onion apart from what it said. But I really love how it is that tropey. We have two babies, they can't stop crying because there's so much truth to that, as our friend Allison in the chat can no doubt connect to. We see Vision, and of course he always looks perfect because he's a robot. But then we see Wanda, and she looks just beat.
Yeah, and I loved how her hair was like tied up. Like I empathize with Wanda on so many levels. Like there's so many things that she's going through from an emotional journey perspective that I'm just like, it's really nice to see this represented on screen. And
look, I'm in the same costume.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Except his hair is like,
there's no hair there.
Yeah, he's hiding.
Yeah.
His true face is out. All right, I do want to point out, and this is to my friend Candace from Geeky Waffles. She looked it up. I was going to once I got to it, but she got to it first. So I do want to point out that she was like on it. What Vision says, and I'm just gonna pull this up bigger, is come on, boys, quiet down so I can get my leg over. This is a British, like, euphemism for having sex with a woman. Yeah. I like, how, like, a penis could be a third leg. It's kind of like that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, or
okay.
whatever.
That's
but
not
like,
really where I was going with that image. Thanks for that.
Well, but so Vision and Wanda are like flirting, and it's so cute to see on screen. And Paul Bettany inserts, I'm sure, his own British improv-y humor into that, right? And then we get bonus like a horny Agnes as well, who just has a very high libido. It's not her own fault.
No,
of course.
it's not. Of course. It's perfectly acceptable to be a woman with a high libido. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what we're being reminded of, right?
Yeah.
But
not something that was generally said in 80s sitcoms, but
no.
Once again we get modern day commentary interposed with 80s sitcoms tropes. So she's all jazzercised, but then she's spritzing lavender over the babies.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And the lavender is like to calm them down because, it doesn't, we're not calm. I'm never calmed down at night. It was just like, it's just really nice to see like adults talking about sexual desire on screen. Yes. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, and spritzing a potion on the children is definitely relevant too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, there was definitely that involved.
Got any dark liquor? I love that.
Yeah. Well, that was very like 1980s too. 1970s, 1980s, like, oh, just give them a little bit of rum. I remember when your uncle told me once to like give my kids rum, and I was like,
You put the in rum.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like, back to like the kids.
Because we've got 80s trope. We've had commentary over society. Now we have to get back to the plot.
Yeah. Well, this actually happened before Agnes came in, but I wanted to talk about like the, why won't you do what I want? So the kids themselves have minds of their own. And this is really, really important. Although they are like of Wanda, they represent and they show a lot of her own desires, and they reflect that back to her in this environment, and I'm sure that they are real now. They do not work. Like her own control of them does not work.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's quite common as parents. Like one of the things you have to learn is that, and you have to go through, is that this child that is separate from you is its own person, and as you're like sort of learning to understand them. You have to learn how to be a really good negotiator with these children.
Also, they're immune to all of your strategies.
Yeah, also
just like they're immune to her powers. Your kids are going to be immune to all of your threats and tricks and tips and anything else you want to say to your children to get them to do what you want them to do. They're immune to that.
Yeah, exactly. But they've
been vaccinated in the womb.
Yeah, exactly. But Agnes comes in and Vision is kind of not doing what Wanda expects.
Yeah, he totally jumps the gun there and says, like, actually, I don't think we want you here.
Yeah, like we got this. We're good.
I'm a little worried. You don't have any children of your own. You are just a strange, friendly neighbor.
Yeah,
I think we got this.
Yeah, well, and also like yeah, I mean that's quite common too. It's like you want to be the parent that's got it. Even if you're exhausted, even if you're tired.
Yeah.
But then the whole pivot for Agnes to go to Wanda and be like, "Oh, you want me to retake this? You want me to do this again?" was so good. So good, and
creepy,
like it's so creepy. Like, and it goes into that like Truman Show feel again a little bit. It's like, well, you didn't want that, and yeah, it's just I think I just appreciate that when they pop out of the moment, it's worthwhile and always creepy. Like they managed to do it. Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well done. And then he cottons on to that, and then
and he's like, "That's so weird.
No, this is not good. We can't have Vision starting to really dig into things."
Yeah,
he is very smart.
Yeah, he is very smart. And so then Auntie Agnes, who is the name of Agatha Harkness that the Tommy and Billy call her in the comics. So this is a direct parallel to who we suspect she is anyways. And I mean, I'm sure it's going to come out that way anyways. Like,
they go in there raised by her for a little while too, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, there's lots of things tied into it.
Yeah, but she ends up becoming this like distraction. So as he starts to interrogate Wanda and is like, "Wait a second, Wanda, this is not right. Don't you see this?" And this is the start of the tension between the two of them this episode. And I mean, there's already been tension building, but this is where he directly sees that she is not on the same page. And that's actually something he calls out later. And she calls out later too. Like they realize like they're off on different pages. But as he's interrogating Wanda, Agnes's distraction goes up. So it's like in a reflection to what Wanda desires. And the distraction is actually called out later where Wanda's like, he needs a distraction. So this to me feels like she's doing this purposefully. And how Vision calls out that it's strange is just him building on the weirdness of this.
Well, I will point out here, before we get too much further into it, that 9 times from multiple characters, people tell Wanda that she's the one doing all of this.
Yes.
And they really bring it home that Wanda is the one doing all of this. And we've been led up to wonder, who's doing this to you, Wanda? And then we realize last episode and to this episode, we're like, oh, Wanda's doing this. But then Wanda says a bunch of comments that we'll get into probably later as we go through about how she isn't the one only doing this.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how we got here.
There's more
and
at play.
I think that this episode is trying to tell you all, guess what? You were right. It's been Wanda all along, only to pull the rug out from under us in the next 2 episodes.
I definitely think that's where they're going,
We definitely know that Wanda has some element of control. She is the one who's creating this hex. She's the hex witch. Like, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, it's massive. We'll get into that, too.
I didn't see the hexagons other than anything other that was 6-sided. They've been making this play on words about hexes the whole time. It's just delightful.
I'm going to go into this with the speculation stuff, but like people are like, so is Wanda playing along? I actually think that it's a bit of her playing along because her desires are being met. And also she is protecting people in a way, right? So this might be something was happening and this was her way of rolling it into a way that she could protect everybody.
Yeah.
And she has contained it in the hex to Scarlet Witch's powers is what they're traditionally called. She hexes people and stuff like that. But we'll get into that as well. But I do think that it's going to turn out that she did this to protect people from what is actually going on.
Exactly.
And we're going to start to reveal that. But, the big bad being revealed to be her,
early.
Yeah, it's too early. This is the misdirect to say it's only her, but what she is doing is seems bad, but it is the best case scenario given what's going on.
What's great was nobody even believes that she's the big bad in this episode even.
No.
Because the big bad in this episode is the idiot Tyler Hayward.
Yeah, no, except for Hayward, he believes it, but yeah.
I hate him so much.
Yeah.
I like the actor though. Don't get me wrong. Great job from the actors part. Like you've made.
I found
me
him on Twitter and I was like,
guy.
"Congratulations on joining the MCU." He liked the tweet, but he didn't say anything else. I suspect he might die by the end.
He made a comment when he first joined. He was like, "I'm so excited to get to be a part of this," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, do you know what parts you're going to have?
Yeah, you're not a good guy, dude.
You're the foil and heel all in one."
Yeah.
Ouch.
Mommy, Daddy. Oh, this moment, this reveal was so good. Like the kids disappeared. I honestly thought they were doing like Wanda was distracted and the kids just disappeared kind of reveal, which would have been more
horrifying. Well, Agnes would have had them in the kitchen, comes out with I was expecting that bottles and comes
Yeah.
out like, I got him, but she's instead drinking the hard liquor, just crying in the corner.
which is so good. But I really like that they control their own fates. That's just such a cool thing. And then, Agnes's comment, like, kids can't control them. Yeah, because they are now something that you have created that has a life of its own thing. And the kids they casted, they had the right, like, mommies, like, oh my God.
And they
so
really
good.
made a major push throughout the 12 and a half minutes of what we got with Dr. Darcy Lewis and Tyler Hayward and Monica and Jimmy. With those scenes outside of the sitcom-esque piece, we really got a lot of textualization to say that what Wanda is creating is real and it does not fade. The costume doesn't change.
Yeah.
The bulletproof, it is made of bulletproof material, which is why it's...
Hey, I got slides about this. Like,
So, okay, sure. Yeah, I think at this point we're really saying, and it's driving home, the kids are real.
yeah.
This is true, and this is not going to change.
And we don't need to
Everything
worry,
else is related to that point. Don't worry about the kids. They are real.
Yeah. So the theme of the intro song, which we got in so far in, was family ties and growing pains.
Yeah.
They were like a combination of the two. And
I highly recommend going and watching the intro to
goodness.
Growing Pains. Go and watch the intro to Family
Yeah.
Ties. Go and watch the intro to Full House, because those 3 TV shows pulled together to make this intro itself. 3 highlight, important, predominantly white. I was a little disappointed by, because they could have pulled in Family Matters very easily.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't. And but nonetheless, these 3 TV shows highly informed the direction that they took for the introduction in this episode.
And also like the thematic choices that they made with like the episodes themselves from a genre perspective. And that is setting the tone for how you're going to view this episode from the sitcom aspects, which are like, again, there's 2 things going on always in layers in this show. There's the sitcom, we wish we could be a happy family forever, concepts. And then there's the horror and the disconcertion. And so I think that that's playing into the overall thematic elements that will end up coming out in the end.
Yeah. And I just want to point out, I think that, and then maybe this is a good point to mention it, is that because you said the happy sitcom childhood, but I think that what's happening is we're getting each decade, because she's literally rewriting her own history. She is giving Vision, who is only 5 years old or thereabout, or 8 years old.
And doesn't even remember that
Exactly.
5 years.
She is giving him
whatever.
She's giving him a whole history, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and onward. There she is establishing a concrete canon set in the cosmic Big Bang micro radiation piece. She's setting it within the history of the world that this exists, and she's giving herself a happy home life. And this episode really brings to bear, she did not have a happy home life. She had a terrible life that led up into being the Scarlet Witch without a code name, and she said, no, we're going to rewrite that. And now we're going to have the happy-go-lucky childhood that I always saw on TV from America. I'm going to have that for myself.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna make this new.
How much do you not like identify with that too? I watched sitcoms growing up, and the kid comes home from school, slams his backpack down. What a terrible day, Mom! And she's like, "But you got to go to school," and he's like, "That was the terrible part." And then the audience laughs.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many times have you wanted to do that too? But it's just, reality is not a sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to point out that I love the Growing Pains song. It's about the mom and the dad falling in love and getting through having like a large family together, and it's just really romantic. And it actually it actually ties into like the intro theme song that was, of course, produced by the Lopez's. We love them so much. So these are
Thank you so much for these delightful theme songs.
Yeah.
So far, I've fallen in love with each and every one of them and would like to buy the album when they come out after the show is done.
Like I still can't get WandaVision out of my head.
So good.
Which is to the theme, to the exact I don't know, staccato. I don't know music, and I help host a musical show on Star Wars music. So it lines up very well with "Help Me Rhonda, help me Rhonda," which I only noticed like last week.
Exactly.
So there's still these audio callbacks and things like that are being built in the episode, and it's just being done very smartly. So you wanted to talk about
I did, because you get this beautiful
lyrics.
Synth piano, which is perfect from the 80s. It leads in, and I don't think people are really listening or reading at all into what the lyrics are in this song. But this song tells us exactly what's going on for Wanda. You wander the world with a vision of what life could be. Well, I mean, how much more obvious can you get? But also, like, it's telling us she has a vision about what she wants in the world. And this is how we're injecting. I'm making a bunch of dramatic emphasis, but you can't see me at all now, so I could literally stretch if I wanted to. But then the years come and teach you. Just wait and see. Forces may try to pull us apart. Well, I mean, this is her all along too. This is Avengers 1, Avengers 2, especially Avengers 2. And every time we watch Disney Plus, after the episode is done, it always cues up Avengers 2 for us with a big picture of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. They're like, no! I don't want to see Pietro die again. No.
But nothing can faze me if you're in my heart, which is literally Vision does the phase thing.
Yeah.
And this is all about, does Vision have a heart? And we know he has a soul. Vision could feel, Wanda could feel him dreaming. And so here's the song, crossing our fingers, singing a song. We're making it up as we go along, because she really is. Yeah. She doesn't know how she got here. She just knows that she's here. She knows that she has control over this place to rewrite things as she needs to. And she's doing it in order to establish and build a history of her own, building a family and a marriage all at the same time, and how much work that has to be. Well, we'll get to there as we go along. So I thought, here, let's talk a little bit about this intro song, because it has all of the words in it that tell us this is Wanda's perspective.
Yeah.
This is about her love for Vision and about her desire, which was harped on for the last 4 episodes, to create a home. I think it's more than that. It's to create a home and a history.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also like, in some ways we talked about, like, maybe this is her way of rebuilding Vision from scratch. And I think that might play into it. So, all right. This is a Monica Rambeau Appreciation Hours. I love her so much. Like, she was a little like off-putting, I think, in the in the hex. I'm gonna start using Tercy Lewis's term, because she's a doctor and she deserves to have her terms become reality. Inside of the hex, she was a little off-putting because of how like disconcerting she was, but like, I love her outside of it. I love all of her background. I love how good this is being set up to be like, oh yeah, she's her enemy. She's Scarlet Witch's enemy traditionally as well in the comic books. But like, like she cares about this human. Like she cares about Wanda. She wants to help, and she understands grief and pain, and that's brought out to say, like, I understand what that's like, and I can empathize with you, and I can help you. We also get a call out just a little bit in the corner with the X-ray. She can't be X-rayed, so I think that that's pointing to Spectrum, yeah, like her eventual superhero persona.
Which I think is already there. She won't talk about Captain Marvel. She won't talk about what happened. I think something did happen, and she has some latent ability that has these scans will not be read. I don't think it's Wanda's import at all that has caused this to be the case. But I also think that this is like a flip of the script, like they did with the Skrulls. And I think they're like, no, I think Monica Rambeau will be much more better served as a defender and a supporter,
as a protector and helper,
and a friend to Wanda, than she ever was in the comic books, as just a simple antagonist for her.
I think that it's just she's viewed as an enemy because of who she represents right now, but I do think that she'll end up continuously helping and supporting her.
It's very clear the guns are not trained on Monica Rambeau. Monica Rambeau was there, and she told Wanda, she's like, you're my friend, I know it's the case because I was there to help you deliver the children, so you must trust me on some level.
Yep, exactly. You trusted me when I entered to help you, and there's so many wonderful things going on in this show.
It's so great that she doesn't get painted into the corner like Tyler Hayward wants her to be as a victim. She says, you know what, things may have happened to me, but they are not what define me, and I will recognize the empathy in the situation, and I will see through to what Wanda's desires are, and they are not harmful.
Yeah, screw you, Tyler Hayward.
And we get to go to another great moment, and I'll talk about that when we get to that slide.
Yeah. I just love the dynamic between the three of them, especially. So Jimmy and Darcy and Monica. I love their dynamic so much. Every time that we get like any conversations with them, I'm glued to the screen because they feel like they are such fast friends. They also feel like they really work well together. They all respect each other. And it's so good. And I just love the line like, pants are appreciated. Like it's just
probably not optional.
Yeah, it's exactly. And it's just so good. And it's like
just thoughtful. It's a thoughtful element, but also ties in like, hey, she's in a gown here, and then the next scene she's going to be in clothes.
Yeah, we
need to tie that in, and let's give Darcy some motivational piece to show that these two characters interact well together.
Yeah, and like these women. And also Jimmy Woo, of course, but these women especially empathize with Wanda and want to help her. Yeah. And like that is like unseen in Hollywood. Like it makes me kind of misty. Like I just love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's certainly unseen in like superhero movies where the expectation is you have power and thus you have a responsibility to not lose your shit. But you know, they understand this is totally justifiable that she would have lost it. You know, and it's not a shameful thing. It's a thing that the community comes together to help. So, yeah. Okay.
I like how the lab tech was like, well, you outrank me, so if you don't want more tests, I don't really have any say in this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, sorry.
All right. Now we come to the scene I hate the most but love the most in the entire episode.
Tyler Hayward puts the ass in Assumption.
Acting director, Tyler Hayward.
Yeah, acting director, ass director. No, he is such a jerk. And I'm going to go...
He's such a terrorist.
He's such a terrorist.
Which is the interplay.
Oh, that was so good. I didn't have a slide for this because I was like trying to keep it under a certain amount.
Yeah. So can I talk a little bit about the social commentary that's happening in this scene?
Yes, you can.
So 3 times he tries to tell everyone in the room that Wanda is a terrorist. And 3 times he is blocked by Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau. He is blocked, and they literally define, especially Monica Rambeau, literally defines terrorism twice in the subclassifications right out of the dictionary of what terrorism means.
Yeah.
And she's like, she is not a terrorist because she's not harming anyone, and she doesn't have a political goal.
And she's actually protecting us.
All 3 different things. Like her motivation is not. So please stop calling her a terrorist. And I think that that's a major commentary on the media's and government's decision to just label anyone who's against them as a terrorist.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You have a political viewpoint that is apart from mine or separate from mine. It might not even be a political viewpoint. Let's paint you as a terrorist.
Yeah.
And that way we have carte blanche in dealing with you. He basically is trying to say, you know what? That Wanda sure is a terrorist. Do you know what? If she's a terrorist, we can do whatever we want to her.
Yeah,
And she's like,
that's where society has gone,
she's
right?
not a terrorist. Not a terrorist.
Yeah.
There's something going on
She's
here.
sad.
No one's hurt, but she's not a terrorist.
Yeah.
And therefore, you can't do whatever you want to her. He's like, you know what? I'm acting director. I'm just going to make that call. And since you're just a lowly blip captain, I can go over your head.
Yeah, exactly. And and I mean, I like that the three, I don't want to call them the trio because I really hate that term now, but the three awesome, like, pro-Wanda supporters outside of the Hex.
Yeah, our audience viewpoint.
Our audience inserts are supporting Wanda and also, like, are working on humanizing her. And I cut kind of all the slides where it, like, shows her being like, and it's really interesting that if we, like, right before this was the intro song, and we see a happy Wanda in kind of a worn, torn, like, building. So she's even rewriting her own history, to your point, even though we get that parallel and that comparison in the next scene here with, showing her being part of like a demonstration, I think, as well.
They even show WandaVision, the intro logo in the back of this scene. This back of the scene right behind Tyler is the picture. Like, we have our little Funkos. They have the picture of WandaVision. Up there, just to hit home. You know what? You may not notice us directly, but listen to what he's saying and look at this picture and see there's that they are not equivalent. There's something different going on here, and Tyler's wrong, and you should not like him. Yeah,
you should definitely consider him to be what Darcy calls him. Exactly. Okay, so I don't know even where to start with this scene where I'm just going to pull it up because I need to, like, see the big version of this. But the Vision's corpse, it's really interesting because people that humanize Vision actually call him Vision, and people that dehumanize Vision call him the Vision. So that's just a subtle thing that I have noticed in this show. Especially Hayward calls him the Vision's corpse. It's like, but then he tries to humanize him throughout his speech, but he's like, 5 years since the Mind Stone was taken. So again, the Mind Stone was taken during Infinity War. And then, Wanda was also blipped at that time. So that's just really important to keep in mind, is like, she wasn't around. She got brought back when the Hulk, Bruce Banner snapped.
I kept forgetting that Wanda was blipped. So for her, there isn't 5 years of time without him. She's got 9 days of time without him. 9 days
since he was taken away. So you got to keep that in mind. It's been 9 days. She has had no time
exactly.
to
and it's
process.
Not like they buried the body. Like Jimmy Woo comments, and you think you've got to hear about his living will, or is that a later slide? The living will of the Vision is that he not be turned into a weapon. Is that his body be used as it was?
Do I talk about that? I don't know. I don't remember if I talk about it, but
she's like, she doesn't find him in a graveyard somewhere where the rest of the blipped people. It's not like he's on the wall where Paul Rudd can go and find his own name. He's here.
Yeah.
How offensive is that?
Yeah. So I do want to point out, it's like she immediately found. So it's like she participated in helping, get rid of Thanos and all of his people. And then she attended the funeral, got really sad about Hawkeye's haircut, and then immediately found out where Sword had him and went there. So reminder, Sword is the Sentient Weapons Observation Response Division. They deal with robotics, nanotech, AI, that's sentient weapons. Okay. They were dissecting him to try to figure out how to make more of him or turn him into a weapon. Well, that is what they were doing.
I don't want to go into conjecture on that part, but they've definitely torn him into 5 parts, which is just ridiculous. Because he was a full body. He just had a chunk missing from his head.
No.
I'll point out something that's very clear, though, because, and we talked about this in the thing, that he got permission to reveal this information to them. And Marie Claire's like, what? what? Why? He's the director. And I was like, no, he makes a clear point of constantly stating he's acting director. That means that he is appointed by a board of governance.
Or like the security council that S.H.I.E.L.D. used to have.
A group of politicians are responsible for naming him the director. And he's very clear to state he's the acting director. I.e., he is not the oversight board. He's not the person who's making the final decisions at the end of the day. He's just a schmuck in the job sitting at a desk.
He is a puppet. Puppet.
He's a schmuck. I mean, he's a schmuck. Puppet. Yeah. It says somebody else is controlling him. I think he's literally got just enough. He's that guy that got promoted beyond his pay grade. It really is. He got promoted to fail. Where you know how you get promoted until you fail and they're like, oh, they were terrible, but they were sure good at their previous job?
Yeah.
That's this guy. He was probably really good in his previous role, and then he got promoted to acting director, and he's just fucked it the whole time.
Swears.
I know, sorry.
Language.
Yeah. But,
to Steve this. Okay, so I like this image because we can actually see how, like, if you were like that, I would be super pissed.
Could you imagine? This is how she finds her husband's body?
Yeah. Yeah. That's screwed up.
She watches him get killed by Thanos after Thanos rewinds time.
She comes back, realizes, okay, Thanos did this. She goes after him, has the funeral for her, I guess, Tony Stark. And then like finds out where it's like, where's Vision? Oh, Sword has him. It's like, the hell?
I kind of want to see the image. Like, I kind of have a picture now of her reappearing in Wakanda because every reappears where they were. And so she reappears in Wakanda with all the other heroes in this like perfectly pastoral setting. And they're like, what just happened? Where are we? What's going on?
No, I just want to point out the timeline. We did talk about it, but again, it's been like 9 days ago from 24 to 48 hours since Monica was ejected. So that was essentially 1 week before Monica entered, 2 weeks since Endgame. It's been 2 weeks since Endgame.
2 weeks.
2 weeks since Vision died in her brain. Good for her. I actually think this footage is entirely 100% real. But this is where...
But kudos to Matt Shackman and to Jack Schaefer and the writing team for realizing and really getting into the moment for Wanda to say, yeah, it's only been 9 days for her. Like, she came back and he's gone and everybody else is back, but Vision isn't. How crushing is that? How
she probably went through all the Pepper got to bury Tony. I should figure out where Vision is so that I can go and visit his grave. She probably went through this whole okay, so where's Vision? And people are like, where's Vision? And he's nowhere to be found. I would lose my
Exactly.
Seriously. Okay, exactly. I want to talk about what Hayward says in this freaking moment. So it's he's Vision, she took his body against, what is in the Sokovia Accords. And I love that Jimmy knows the exact article section.
And I was telling Rick Claire earlier, and I was like, it feels like Jimmy Woo learned everything he needed to know about the Sokovia Accords from a BuzzFeed article. And it's 12 things you need to know about the Sokovia Accords. And number 9 was subsection 36B definitely states blah, blah, blah. And so that's why Jimmy knows it, because he's a BuzzFeed guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then Vision has a living will. I mean, he really loved paperwork, so I don't doubt that he would have, but he wouldn't have also wanted Sword to be dissecting him to understand how he works, which is exactly what they were freaking doing.
Yep.
And then he didn't want to be anybody's weapon, which is exactly what he was becoming with Sword. This is all just half truths from Hayward's perspective. And so I think it's just really important to point that out. And then this is you hate how I speculate shit. Him saying in her grief, she took him and resurrected him. We don't know that.
No, that's definitely audience insert right there.
Bull.
Yeah.
You jerk.
Absolutely.
This is all just
defining his own justification for what he's about to do.
Yeah, exactly. And also what Sword probably had already been doing.
Yeah.
That jackass.
Yeah, he is basically he's the seminal white guy. Whatever I say is true.
Oh my God.
Frick. Yeah. So I was just kind of envisioning at the same time. I'm like, I want Vision to live because I kind of want Vision to interact with Friday and Karen because they're kind of his siblings.
Yeah, kind of. That would be cool.
I'd be like, oh, Friday, it is so nice to talk to you. My sister, Anyway.
Oh my God. Against his own living will, he didn't want his
body to
be used for weapons. That's all I gotta say. It's like, we gotta believe part of this, or do we have to believe any of this? I don't think we have to believe any of this. He is a unreliable narrator of Wanda's emotional
He's our heel.
State.
We know that anything he says is just going to further antagonize the protagonists. He may not be the antagonist. He is just there to piss the protagonist off and make everyone in the audience that much more sympathetic to the protagonist.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all justifiably say that ACAB Hayward, whoa.
He dumb.
Yeah. I don't know. I just love this moment where it's like, how can he come back without the Mind Stone? It's just setting us up for...
It's so funny how we only got 13 minutes of the MCU bit with our main outside sword related scenes. But they have so much metatextual information that they're parsing out to us that will inform how we view phase 4, phase 5 going forward and what is relevant and important to that going on. I'm just floored because we spent a ton of time on just this scene and it's short. It's only 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And yet it's just dense with info as they share and they contextualize how we view what is to come in the sitcom and what's happening as a result of the sitcom, but also what their response to the sitcom is going to be.
Yeah. And then also like, it helps us if, hey, you're like, I'm not familiar with the MCU. Where should I be at? Well, you identify with Darcy and Jimmy and Monica, right? Yeah. There are stand-ins for the audience. It's so smart. It's just brilliant. And using all of the tools that they have in their repertoire to tell the story and help the audience get where it needs to go, regardless of the understanding that they have. I do have some commentary for the final scene because I don't think it was as successful for everybody, but it will be explained, I think, in future episodes.
Just a note about Jimmy Woo. I was really hoping in this episode to get a snippet of him on the phone telling his superior, no, I still haven't located the Witsec person.
Yeah.
They're in the town. I'm coordinating and liaising with Sword. I'm going to need you to give me enough time here so that we know, because he's not part of Sword. He's secondary to it. Yet he's attending all of these briefings.
I know.
And I'm hoping it's because he's like, well, my person is still in there and I need to get them out because that's
and he
his
also
role in
discovered
this
it and has been helping and stuff like that. And so they're probably, again, Sword doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Exactly.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I would have liked to have shown that, he is not Sword.
So back to the sitcom land. Oh my God, these kids are adorable.
I wanted a dog.
I know, right?
I really wanted a dog.
We're like so allergic. We've thought about it a couple of times, and you had a dog growing up and I had a dog growing up, and we both
I just felt like dying all the time I was growing up. I could never breathe. My dog wasn't allowed in the room, like my sleeping room, because if he ever came into my room, I would have an asthma attack in the middle of the night and not get any sleep. And so like, we can't get a dog, but I wanted that dog.
I know, that dog was so adorable.
Also, they really need to fix their electricity because that just shouldn't happen.
There was already existing problems in this town. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And so like this whole scene, it was so typical, like a sitcom in the 80s. The kids are like, hey, we have a dog. And the mom's like, no, you can't keep the dog. Oh, wait, I love this dog so much. And it's like
I love
Yeah.
it. It was this mom in the 80s perfectly, and she just delivered all of her lines with genuine intent. Like, I mean, it's not hard, because who doesn't feel that way? Like, it's going to take a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna kiss you between your little ears. Oh my god, I
Yes.
died. And then Billy and Tommy, like those little actors. Oh my god, I love them so
both
much.
actors for both sets.
Yeah.
Just delightful. And our son, he immediately blossomed when the 10-year-olds appeared, because he's 9 and he sees himself in the same sort of viewpoint.
Yeah.
I listened to a couple of things, and there isn't enough characterization from the kids yet, is what their commentary and their statement was. Because, like, we really don't get to feel for who these people are. I'm like, they were babies at the start of the episode.
Like, what
Come
is
now, man. You got like 18 minutes at most of these kids. And a lot of that time was spent on Vision and Wanda.
And these kids, the actors, I didn't look up their ages, but they're probably around 6-ish, right?
first set, yep.
So that's hard to get a lot out of them. They have to do quick cuts, and like, you have to do this thing, and then they have to do it. Like, working with kids is like hard.
Yes.
So 10-year-olds are easier to
We'll get
direct.
more of their characterization as we go
Yeah, and
forward.
especially they built it into the script to say, hey, stay as 10 for a little while, please, so that we can get you as like cute little 10-year-olds.
Exactly. So they'll stay
Instead-
10-year-olds when we jump to the next decade, which is important.
Yeah.
And I think that's super fun, and really managed to think like ahead of the script and ahead of audience expectations.
Yeah.
To say, like, no, you get to stay 10. Just like Vision and I haven't aged. We're going to move the decade forward, but you get to be 10 at this age, because that's how where you're supposed to be.
The only thing that I can think of, as far as somebody in the comment, Mariette, said, like, how are they wearing the comic colors that they traditionally wear as
in
their
80s fashion.
in 80s fashion. I actually think that it's just a reflection of who they are as personality, and that's what's coming out, like, spiritually or psychologically, because they are independent elements of Wanda, and so they are expressing themselves as independent elements, and that's who they are. Because if that's what you choose to be your superhero costume, it's because you're choosing that's who you truly are as your superhero persona. And so I think it's just a reflection of that they have a fair amount of control of that.
The costumes that they're showing right now, those are the costumes that they're wearing in the initial scene. And the 5-year-olds that are running around, those are in the opening intro.
Yeah.
Those are the ones they're playing with.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
And when they're doing the run, that's a direct relation to Full House, which has that big run down
Oh,
thing towards the camera.
yeah. On the hill. Yeah.
Ah!
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh man. So they really did blend the three
really
shows
did, yeah.
into this. So Growing Pains and
That's the only one of the 3 shows where I remember probably almost all of the lyrics to the opening of Full House.
wow.
Yeah.
I did want to show this, which was the first time we've really seen. I mean, other than her kind of like, don't pay attention to the man behind the mirror or behind the curtain. Don't pay attention to the woman behind the curtain who is pulling the strings to distract you from what's happening. He's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, I'm tired of hiding. He's like, but we made a, commitment. How many times have we like had fights like this?
There's so many fights.
Yeah,
this
I know.
Is a legitimate, genuine fight about magical powers. I mean, if it wasn't about that, this is a reflection of a lot of the times of us standing in the kitchen arguing with each other.
Yeah, like this felt so real. And then,
which is the only thing that's not real is that they're doing dishes, for one.
Yeah.
And for another, like they got the kids to do dishes, which is like, who does that? Who manages to get their kids to do the dishes? And thirdly, they're fighting after they've eaten, so
yeah,
probably
that's
not the
weird.
case. But like,
Yeah.
she's exhausted.
She's very tired, mentally tired, because she's at least upkeeping something about this environment. But we'll get into that. I really loved his. Normally we're of the same mind, and I just wanted to add in stone. Because it's true. They are both of the same mind stone.
Yep.
And this is the start of her realizing he is not on the same page as her, and she starts to take active intervention in his life, which we get into. I
have one conjecture though that's not related. And I just come from this. Like, they're both of the same mind stone. Mm-hmm. We didn't get it in Avengers Endgame, but the little sister of Black Panther was trying to pull him out, and we
Right.
believe she didn't get enough time. We never got another follow-up scene on that.
to reconnect the synapses or whatever she was working
Do you
on.
think
Yeah.
maybe she did have enough time, and we might see that going forward. Like, I just want you to know I did have enough time. We can. I was able to pull it out, and we can put him back in, and it's all there.
Yeah, I don't know if Surrey did.
Anyway, it's just conjecture on my point. I don't like normally doing that, but I kind of wonder because we didn't get to see it. Like, did they want us to feel that so that they could ameliorate that down the road? I don't know.
I don't know.
They have that option.
We'll see. Okay, let's talk about 10-year-olds. So this setup was brilliant. It's like, your father doesn't want you to have a dog until you're 10 years old. And then, like the 10 thing, like the mom and dad talking about stuff, like between, like we've done that where we're like,
yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Are they old enough?
Are they old enough to,
Yeah.
okay, so 10 years old.
We always say yes.
This calls back to them talking about how Wanda volunteered to be experimented on when she was 10 years old.
Yep.
Whoa.
Literally, Hayward says that moments ago. We didn't mention it then because we're mentioning it now. She was 10 when she was experimented on by, what's his name? Strucker,
yeah. So this is giving us a chance for Wanda to rewrite that history with her, little mini versions of herself who get to have a better life, who get to have their 10-year-old life experiencing joy and family and all of that. And it just breaks my heart, but also good for her.
Yeah. I mean, she really deserves happiness at this point. I know, like, nobody ever deserves it, but like, she's gone through so much hardship and she's been through so much, and she made a decision to be a hero, like, and then never got the hero's reward. Mm-hmm. She never got to go home to, in all the heroes' journeys, they get to go home afterwards and celebrate their success. The majority of those stories, especially from a mythical text point, she doesn't get that. She didn't get to go home and celebrate. She literally had to save the day and watch her loved one die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then came back and was like, wait, where is he? Yeah.
Stryker made Wolverine. How rude to see,
yeah, not Stryker, who is the Wolverine. He's Canadian too, which is worse.
Weapon X program, not Hydra related. Hey, James Howlett is a great character.
Okay, fine.
I just hate that he's the central character.
Okay, so look how happy Agent Jimmy Woo is with his little coffees. He has picked up coffee.
I didn't even notice this. I
didn't
see this moment. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it so much in the previous episode. I made a coffee, like Darcy's coffee.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, I was just still reeling from the previous scene when he did this.
He brought her coffee. And like, what's a lady got to do? Well, you just got to hang out with Jimmy Woo. That's what you got to do. And I made that rhyme.
His language. Something's hinky here. He uses all these very old, anachronistic statements. Like,
he got Darcy coffee. Like, people are like, I can't help ship him and her together. He got her coffee. Like, I mean,
it would be a proper love triangle because she brought clothes to Monica. So if Monica brings something to Jimmy, then we've got a nice little. We have a genuine triangle.
Oh my God, no, thank you. But I love this moment. They focus on it. They spend a moment and he's like, what did I miss? Because he really is invested in this show, just like us. It would be like if I walked away to go get you a drink from the kitchen, or if you went and got me popcorn or something like that. Yes. It's like, what did I miss in the show? Because, they're invested in that shows. And it's like, oh, now the twins are aged up. It's like, what? By the time that, it's dinner time, they're going to be empty nesters. It's like, yes, that's the concern. That's always the concern when things are aging up, but they mitigate that in the episode. But okay, so I want to talk about who is the aerospace engineer that Monica is referring to. She's like, I can build this thing that will protect me from this. And then I can...
This part is the photons and this part is the neutrons, and the person will be protected in the inside, right? And Darcy's like, Sure,
I guess. But like, who's the aerospace engineer that she texts? I want to know. I have no idea.
Yeah, we put it in because if you'd love to throw it up in the chat, we'd love to know. Because the only real engineer type character that I'm aware of is Forge, and they haven't introduced him at all. He's in nothing.
Yeah.
And there is zero characters. And then at one point I teased Marie Claire. I was like, Morgan Stark. And Marie Claire's like, oh, maybe. And I'm like, no,
She's
Claire,
5. Marie Claire. I'm like, I was getting confused with like Monica being so old, and like I was very tired. This week was very hard for me. So thank you if I missed stuff this week in my PowerPoint presentation. But
that is a great PowerPoint presentation. You've done well. We're an hour in and still
people are
have lots of
calling
slides left.
Reed Richards.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, she's been texting someone. So she is not an aerospace engineer. We know that. She's a captain. She flies things and leads people. She does not have the engineering degree that we would want from an aerospace engineer who's going to be able to build something that'll protect you in the hex zone. So I don't know who she's talking about, but I hope that person comes to play. Just like I hope the WITSEC person gets at least brought into play.
Yeah, so think about it. Let me know. Message me.
I really hope the WITSEC person is Mephisto.
Write in the comments or at me on Twitter. I just want to know what people are thinking about this because I have no idea. I'm like, who could it be?
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's Peter Parker.
Yeah, no. He's like, yeah.
He's still in high school. He's
I know,
not an
he's
aerospace
not-
engineer. He's
not-
not something a captain would have known 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, because she blipped, right? So yeah, I don't know.
No, Jane Foster is an astrophysicist with her PhD. So I don't think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, let's talk about the hex. This is the slide I had ready, which is like to say everything is real. Everything is real. It is changed. It is transformed, which is like such a wonderful metaphor for what's happening in this show. But so this goes like so. If things leave the hex, they will probably stay. The twins, the clothes, the pants, and of course, Vision ? That was my thing. But I love the fact that the hex is related to Scarlet Witch's powers. It is a protection bubble. We know that she is protecting the world from what is happening. And I think that when it breaks, that's when the multiverse stuff will kick off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's something that's overwhelming that's happening in the environment. I have more slides later on about specific things that are said that indicate that it's not just her. But I do think that it's important that she is a power player within the hex. And she is, again, I feel... speculation, but I feel what they're saying with subtext is that she is protecting the world from what is happening in Westview.
Yeah. Yeah, she's created her own quarantine zone to not only protect these people, but also to self-insert. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and there's more to come. We have 4 more episodes. I'm excited.
Yeah, and Wanda is powerful enough. She could have stopped.
What a great shot you took.
I grabbed that one. I was like, that was a good one.
Shot to take that because that's literally
let's
her.
Go big. Yeah.
Her, stopping Thanos while making the decision to kill Vision.
She could do both, you sons of guns. Like seriously, like this whole scene with Monica and Darcy and Jimmy Woo were all there. Dr. Darcy Lewis was all there just to shut up certain people on the internet.
Yeah.
Like it was literally just to say, do not doubt her power. She is more powerful than Thanos. She is more powerful than Thanos with 5 Infinity Stones.
Yeah. And this is so important because she talks about it with her kids a few moments later.
Yeah, exactly. And everything in the hex is real. And that just makes me go like, oh,
yeah.
Like, thank goodness. Like they're confirming things in the show and they're using the show to confirm exactly everything that we've always thought. And it's not an illusion and it's real and it's a new real and she's making things new. Like,
yeah, Captain Marvel created from the Space Stone, and we have Wanda created from the Mind Stone, and Vision as well. It was such a nice tie-in from Jimmy Woo, and also, I don't think we get to that, but Monica Rambeau is really dismissive. Like, we're not talking about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
Why? That was an interesting way to emotionally say that.
I hope that we get more of that, but I didn't want to talk about it too much.
No, fair.
When it's just kind of like we can only speculate what happened, and I'm trying not to speculate too much on very little information.
Wow, what a good comment from Allison. While you move on to the next one, which is a great scene with Norm and Viz. But how perfect is this show in quarantine? Stuck inside watching old sitcoms because we watched everything else on our old streaming services.
Yeah.
Like
they weren't picturing that, but
we watched during quarantine. We've watched Modern Family. We've watched like the entirety of Modern Family, all 10 seasons, and we are almost done 7 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, plus the other things we've watched as a family. But yeah, we are in the same boat of like, we're not living a life. We might as well watch other people doing so.
Exactly. So back to computational services, which is still named computational services, which I loved. And then we get this really cool moment with Norm and the email and
so
waking
good
him
with
up.
These machines, it's almost like you can talk to them. Like you speak their language.
Yeah.
Then Paul Bettany's expression like, whoa, better nip that in the bud.
Yeah. And then he comes over and he reads the email. And okay. Let's talk about the fact that the entire room reads the email without experiencing the email or having the email in front of them.
Were looking at the email, but there's the lady kind of receptionist sort of person.
No, I'm gonna assume not everybody had the email in front of them. It's because Norm and Vision.
God, we watched Community too.
Yeah, we also watched Community. Yeah,
where's our time gone?
I don't know. we've had a lot of free time on our hands.
True.
But everybody started to read the email, or and this is not the first time we've experienced like that group almost hypnosis type experience, and it adds to the horror element of the show, right? To say everybody is experiencing this because their minds are all linked. So this is so this scene is just like, okay, what is going on? I'm in pain. She's in my head. Help me. Okay.
This is Norm that's talking.
This is Norm, right? So we are set up as an audience to think the thing that is in Norm's head, she, is Wanda. That is how they have framed the episode. I don't think that it is. I think it's Dottie. But
you're still bringing it back. Okay.
I'm bringing it back because I think that Dottie is going to end up being Mephisto, because it'll be that like turn thing. It's like, oh, Mephisto can only be a guy. Well, I think it's actually going to be Dottie, because it'll turn and say, oh, well, just like how the Ancient One, they gender changed for the show, because then it like will throw off the super nerds in the audience to be like, oh, Mephisto had to be a guy. No!
I mean, if you're going to have Mephisto in this show, it would have to be Dottie at this point, because they've introduced no other character with similar amount of power, like social power in the show. Like they have told us. She is the one. She tells us what we can do and can't do. She's the one who makes the decision.
And she'll say stuff, and you experience the mass hypnosis
for the
children afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesse pointed out that Mephisto has been
Mephisto's been around for forever.
I mean, everybody's been a woman at some point. Yes. So because they just want to switch it up, they're like, this is boring, always having dudes in the room. But I do think that this was a misdirect on the writer's perspective. I do think that
misdirect of us,
misdirect of the audience. Yeah,
misdirected us. It's Wanda.
This was a purposeful misdirect to say it's Wanda, similar to how Hayward is like, oh, Wanda felt this way and Wanda resurrected Vision. I actually don't think that's the case at all.
Although it could very well be Agnes.
It could be.
Can't discount Agnes.
I think she is just trying to help. I think she's a interested third party.
I very much agree, but I also think it could very easily be Agnes.
Okay, but it's a she, and we have 3 contenders, and it's not Wanda. because
Yeah.
this is a misdirect. This is
Somebody mentioned Lunella Lafayette, but I don't even know who that is.
I don't know. I mean, it had to have been somebody who was introduced already. An established character, and our two choices are Agnes or Dottie. I think it's Dottie because Agnes is deferential to Dottie.
Right.
There's a social history in the plot and in the story, and I think it would be just really interesting if it was two women fighting for the control of the world. Ha! Yeah. All right. So, okay, this is super interesting. This scene with the kids who are like, "Where's Daddy?" It's like, let's talk to Daddy about this.
He went to work.
He went to work. It's Saturday.
He needed a distraction. There was something important that was going on. From what? From us? Like, I could imagine, like, kids, their point of view, like, when they're a teeny tiny person, all they have is their body. And then when they're about 3 months old, they start to realize there is more to the world than the body outside, and they can start to scream and make things come to them.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever when a child realizes that the world outside of them exists.
Yeah.
And this is not irrelevant to
permanence.
the story that's going on, because at one point Wanda's like, she realizes the world is going on outside of her and she screams, so we'll come back to that. But the kids, like, when you get to be 6 or 7, you start to think that every action has something to do with an action that you have taken.
Yeah.
And so you believe that that consequence and effect have everything to do with you, like, because you haven't learned that external factors exist.
Yeah, there is another perspective that you're just not able to understand or really lean into. And so
the older you get, the bigger you can picture the world to be, and the more influences you see interacting with each other.
It's kind of like in the game Among Us, where like the lights are turned down and you can only see so far, and then you can turn up the lights and you can see more, and you can potentially like go to the security room and see different angles and change your perspective. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, as you get used to the world, you're able to actually shift and be like, this is probably what it's like. And unfortunately, it's a mix of two things, because this is Wanda forcing Vision to go to work on a Saturday to distract him and everybody else in that office, to go to work, similar to the Agnes like weird babysitting routine. This is her trying to prevent him from thinking about the environment that he lives in.
From investigating too far.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, they think it's about them, but it's actually about Wanda and about Vision. And that happens too. It's like, if we were to get into a fight, the kids might think it was because of them, but it's really just because, we're tired, we're hungry, we're not communicating, like all of that. Oh, that was my water bottle. We're tired, we're hungry, we're not communicating. It actually has to do with us. And that was a very real moment for us. I loved it very much.
Yeah.
So
he needed, like, he's also commenting on the fact that there are no kids in the playground. Well, that's coming up, right? Not yet at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, like, it's really interesting because Wanda is trying to insert these teachable moments into the show that she is presenting to the outside world.
Full House moment right here.
Like, let's take a moment and be like, no, you might disagree over a toy, but he's still your brother and he's still yours, and family is forever. And it's like they throw this back at her later on, but I loved that this was the like, hey, let's do a teachable moment, and then she tries again to do the teachable moment, because that's what you do in sitcoms. You're like, this is a teachable moment. It's always like what they say parents should do is like, take this moment to talk with your children. And it's like, it's BS. Like, sometimes life is messy.
It's always a good time to talk to your children.
No, I know. But sometimes you can't explain everything to them.
But at least you can broaden their perspective.
Oh, yeah. And we try to be good parents, but we're not perfect all the time. Like, that's just how life is.
Do or do not. There is no try.
All right. Thanks, Yoda. All right.
Family is forever, and that's the key. That she's telling them that, but she's still telling it to herself because she doesn't have a family. Her parents are gone. Her brother is gone. She had Vision. He's gone, and she's just trying to claw back using whatever power she has to make that to heal those wounds. And I'm really excited by the relationship she's developing with the children and the rapport that this actress has with these two kids is she's so good.
She's so good. Elizabeth Olsen deserves an Emmy for this show. She's just it's complex and hard, and she goes through all these emotions, and
she's the perfect 80s sitcom mom. She was the perfect 50s, 60s wife, the perfect 70s mother-to-be. She's been so good in those tropes to, and just chews up the scenery around her. The way she moves her hands when she does stuff is perfect in those roles. I can, and I don't know if you noticed, but she's wearing red kicks with no socks because that was a big thing to do in the 80s. She's wearing those red running shoes with no socks. Her costuming is spot on.
Yeah, exactly. I love this moment when they figure out, oh, maybe if we sent in something that didn't have to be changed, and they sent in this old school drone that, of course, it was Stark Industries. I'm not even gonna have a slide for that, but it was Stark Industries on the slide because of course Stark had drones in the 80s. He's just that kind of guy. But good for her again, because I love this moment where it's black and white is can you enhance the picture, and then it's her power affecting reality to show, look, I'm pissed off at you, look at my red eyes. And when she starts to leave and we get that klaxon blaring alarm, the signal goes out and it shows down in the corner on Darcy's screen the show has stopped, because the show is Wanda. The environment, I don't think it is her. So that's cool.
I also want to point out that as technology improves and there is more technology, it creates further complications to the world that they have created, right? I always picture Wanda as a dungeon master in a Dungeons and Dragons game, right? Because she's in control of all the NPCs, right? She does all these things, and the players are running around. Wanda, the Vision and the two boys are kind of the players of the game. This is great. I'm getting to live my best life. And then it's technology comes along, and there's an email that was sent by Darcy a couple of days ago. That email now exists in the world because their computers can accept emails, and it's and that totally knocks everything askew. And the same thing with the drone here. When they send in the drone, they're like, dang it, the world cannot accommodate that because it exists in the world of today.
Yeah, exactly. And so her exit out of the room, and then there's so many beautiful shots when she leaves the hex, where she leaves the hex and you kind of see the energy field
wow,
and then she leaves, and then all the guns are trained on her, and I captured a few of those.
And she's in
shots.
Her Avengers costume.
Yes, so she probably hasn't changed, or she chose to wear that.
She changes it back.
Yeah, she can just do that. That's the quick change, speciality of most superheroes. It's
I'm not going to do what Monica Rambeau did and come out in the 70s. I'm not going to come out in my 80s tired mom attire with my suspenders. I'm going to come out in my Avengers attire because that's who I am, and I don't understand why you're not respecting me.
Yeah. I don't know that she's choosing to change the times.
Ooh, I feel like she is, because it's establishing the history and establishing that home. But we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know.
I mean, it's also a trope. We don't know if it's ever going to necessarily need to be explained, because part of the gimmick of the show is that it goes forward in time by these decade jumps.
Yeah, I don't think she's willing.
Can't wait for the 90s.
Yeah, I don't.
Grunge Wanda.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we'll see what clothes I can pull out that time.
I think it's going to be early 90s. So, the next episode may very well be the Halloween episode.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Halloween episode. Yeah. But I did love this moment where she's like, is this yours? Or that wasn't a Sokovian accent. I don't know what that was. But her accent came back. She was in her full Avengers. She is literally who she is. She is Wanda, and she's perfectly aware of who all these people are, what their worst fears are, everything, because she is that powerful. And she throws the drone at the feet of everybody.
No, Hayward. She throws the drone at the feet of Hayward.
Of Hayward, yeah,
Not
yeah,
Monica,
yeah.
not Jimmy, not Darcy. Hayward, right in his feet. And I love that it's still glowing with her power.
Yes, I love that. And it's like broken and stuff. And it's like, just a reminder, I could do this to anything.
Exactly.
I love the framing of the shot with Monica versus Wanda. And just like, you know, like she's like, I care, like, let me care. And we've talked about this already this episode.
How many times does this empathizing with the person you're arguing with diffuse the argument?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a smart move either way. And there's so much I love about this scene in this moment. It's like, you know, what do you need? What can I give you? You know, it's like, I have everything I want.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make sure that it stays this time. And then she looks from Monica, who she's talking to, directly to Hayward. It's not on our view. Like, they don't cut to Hayward or anything, but you can tell that she goes from talking to Monica to talking to Hayward. Okay.
Monica, this is who I'm talking about.
Yeah, him.
He's my problem.
He took away everything I wanted. She's directly, squarely blaming him for taking Vision's body. And he visibly reacts after she starts to walk away. Hayward, they cut back, but I do believe that it is like she is placing full blame on taking Vision's body. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Minky Moo's like, so why hasn't an Avenger come in to help what's going on? Someone with more connection already. Who? Everybody else that Wanda has connected with is pretty much gone.
Yeah. Tony and Steve are all gone.
Yeah. Thor's off in space.
Yeah.
We do
maybe
have
Banner,
Iron Patriot, but she never had any
Hawkeye?
real scenes with the Hulk or Banner.
Hawkeye, maybe.
And Banner's now Hulk all the time, so I don't know how that would tie in and connect. So Hawkeye maybe, but I don't know if that's necessarily connectable, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get him at the end of this, because we are going to get a Hawkeye thing. Maybe we'll get Hawkeye towards the end. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think this is singular of its own connection, and it is not an Avengers movie. She may be an Avenger. She doesn't even have a code name.
Yeah. I would say this next, point where she like obviously uses her powers and is like, oh no, all of the guns that were trained on me, look, I can point them in your direction, Hayward. Yep. Actually, you're in trouble and don't mess with me again. I can do whatever I want. Yep. And it does super parallel Magneto's power, which I pulled the shot from, where he, everybody's got their guns trained on Magneto and he turns all the guns around. And it is a direct parallel to that.
Somebody in chat was talking about how they could call in Sam or Bucky as a person for the final episode to like really tie them together. And I was like kind of picturing in my mind, I would really love it if Falcon and the Winter Soldier was like the next Captain America. And there were like judges and they were all like a panel of people. And we find out that Falcon and Bucky are really the final two to get narrowed down to be the next Captain America.
It's like a reality TV show.
Reality TV show with judging and everything.
That would be really hilarious.
Inappropriate, but nonetheless.
So originally Falcon and the Winter Soldier were supposed to come out in August, and then this show was supposed to come out in November, December, I think was the original time frame. Yeah. So they moved this one forward because it was already done, and they were able to complete the last little bits of it in quarantine in LA. So it's like, it's interesting because it's like, well, maybe this was supposed to be the second show.
Yeah, this was not supposed to be the first show.
Yeah, and
the first show was supposed to be Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Who knows what we're gonna get out of that.
I'm excited by that because it's supposed to roll out right away following this. So,
but I think that they're in tandem. I think that Bucky and Sam were busy, rather than necessarily that they didn't care.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Wanda is queen. She can do whatever she wants, and she's way more powerful than Magneto.
I don't know about that. Magneto controls a fundamental aspect of all things.
Yeah, she controls reality though.
Yes.
If she wants to.
I mean, yes, she is definitely an alpha or an omega mutant, as they would like to call them.
Yeah.
So is he, Iceman, Jean Grey. There's a not very long list of omega mutants, and she is one of those.
Professor
mutants.
X. Not that I care to, compare people. But...
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about the commercial.
Oh,
yeah.
What a time for the commercial to come in, right? Because they've already mentioned Germany and Nigeria earlier on, and now it's saying Lagos. And this is literally the most direct commentary of all of them, and my children didn't get it at all.
No, they didn't. They didn't remember Lagos.
Lagos is just the name of a brand of paper towel. They have no idea that Lagos Nigeria.
Was in Captain America Civil War, and it was the start. So the kind of new Avengers who were all working together under Captain America.
Kind of Black Widow too.
Black Widow, Sam, Cap. They were all working together as a team to capture Crossbones, which is
because he'd stolen stuff.
Yeah, he'd stolen stuff, and he's a jerk, and they had been chasing him. Romlo, he's a jerk, and so and they suspected he would show up to steal something, and specifically what he was trying to steal was a biological / pandemic type weapon, which is super interesting. Yeah. So he was going basically to the Lagos version of the CDC, and he was going to go and steal a basically a mutated version of a disease that could be used. And so it's like in a little red vial, which is to the point. And what ends up happening.
Well, it's also blood too, right?
It's blood. So, yeah. And so what ends up happening is like Wanda trying to prevent an explosion. Romlo is like exploding himself with a bomb. She lifts him up in the air and sort of messes up a little bit and ends up exploding a set of dignitaries in a building from Wakanda. And this causes like all of the Civil War actions, all of the Sokovia Accords, all of this stuff. And it's like she was trying to help, but also she was kind of, not really according to the law. She wasn't there on any sort of reason. Nobody had asked her to be there. So it added in all the complexity. So this is a direct thing. What's super interesting about it is husbands can use it too.
Oh, is that the interesting part to you? Okay.
I thought that was super interesting. That
husbands,
why? Because it's pointing to say messes happen.
Right.
You can clean those up.
Yeah. But the husband doesn't do the cleanup. She does. He knocks over his beer and then she cleans it up.
Oh, maybe I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like literally she made a mess in Lagos, and that was one of the headlines in the movie. Like a mess is made in Lagos, blah, blah, blah. Her picture's on there. Nigeria is constantly something she dwells on because
it's also the reason that she got so close to Vision.
Contained it, thought she'd get it up high enough, and she exploded that whole building full of people that had nothing to. They were just doing their normal job.
Yeah, and they were like, but what's really interesting is without Lagos, she wouldn't have gotten so close to Vision. She wouldn't have had that connection with him. So it's like not something that she can get rid of. She just has to clean up.
Yeah.
Right?
Accidents happen is also what this is saying, right? Like Lagos was an accident, and accidents happen. And at the end of the day, you cannot put any blame on a person for an accident. You just have to be there for the cleanup. So,
exactly.
Right? Like our daughter knocked a plate off the second floor down to the front thing, shattered it today. And it was like, look, accidents happen.
Yeah.
Just go clean up your mess.
Yeah, just go pick up everything and then use the vacuum to get it.
And I don't know if she's ever gotten to feel like she got to clean up her own mess. Like she didn't get to clean it up, and maybe she's trying. And so maybe that's this. It's one of those guilt pieces, and all of all of the commercials have all had a direct relation to her past, and this one is the most direct.
Yeah.
And the most apropos. Like you made a mess in Lagos, you need to clean it up.
Yeah. And I do think that it ties in with the husbands can use it to like, because she calls Vision her husband.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important because it's like, this is you trying to fix the problems of the past and fix what happened to Vision.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
we get to keep the same family from all the other commercials.
Yeah, they're
So
great.
the dad is the same guy. And somebody
Yeah.
pointed out there, this is the first commercial that is narrated by the mom.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh man, the
this
scene with the dog, and oh my god, I was so upset. So they're chasing down the dog, and Agnes has found the dog and has wrapped up the dog. Sheila lives down the street, it seems, rather than neighbor.
I mean, she lives next door. I think they
Yeah.
just went around the wrong way, and she's like, I was trying to, and I forgot to do the Google search to see if azalea bush leaves are
Poisonous?
attractable and poisonous to dogs. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Azalea bushes is a huge tropey line. You can
Yeah,
find that in TV tropes.
you
Oh,
hide-
my azalea bushes.
Or he was hiding behind the azalea bushes, like that sort of thing. And they're like, you can fix it, right, Mom? You can fix the dead. And she mishears that to be like, you can fix Dad.
Yeah, they almost say dead like dad. You can
Yeah.
fix dad.
Yeah. You can fix the dad. And like,
The dad. The
Yeah,
vision.
the vision.
The dad.
Yeah, like-
I'm hoping that that's the case. And yes, Dominic, they are all the same people in the commercials. Yeah, this is super relevant, and we don't know why. And then they
immediately say,
show, yes.
wait, who can you fix?
But
Who
it's
can you
like,
bring
it's
back?
great. It's like you cannot bring back. They don't bring back.
Yeah.
You can fix the dead.
Yeah, you
And
can
that's what she
fix
does,
the dead.
because she does not bring the dead back. Once you're dead, once you're gone, you cannot be brought back. Vision is kind of an exception to this because he's a synthezoid, right?
Yeah.
He is non-biological. You could repair him.
Yes. And
But Quicksilver?
yeah, so she fixes the dead. But I think that this is tying to some
and
of
then Agnes's line, which
Yeah.
Casalamania.
you can do that.
You can do that?
Yeah.
That's something you can do?
but I do
Who
think
are you?
Yeah, I do think, like, oh, poor Agnes. But I do think that this is like showing that the kids are hers.
Yep.
And like a reflection of her. They are mini her.
Yep.
Right? Like this is just all tying into that too. And they're gonna pick up on aspects of her subconscious, even though she's not really willing to face it. Look, you can actually do this, woman. Like, just find the power, girl power moment. That's what they're telling her.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And she tries to have that teachable
Well, you're
moment.
a mom. You can fix anything. Moms can, especially small children, like, Mom, fix it.
Yeah.
Mom can fix it, right?
Yeah. But she actually has the power to do it, which is super good.
Yes.
And also, but I think she's in denial, and she wants to kind of try to move past these things using this scenario. But like, you're super powered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Okay, let's talk about the fight, because the fight is awesome.
Oh.
I thought the kids would get super uncomfortable when we watched this.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
They're
no.
just so used to us fighting at this point.
Okay, so she confronts him. She's like, I was able to unearth Norm's suppressed personality. I love how he's just like down, like, nope, washes his hands. We're going to talk about this.
The washing his head scene is just so good.
Yeah, and she's like, Vision, no. It's like, you can't control me like you can them.
Yes, I can.
Can't I? Credits! And he's like, no, you can't. Follows her into the other room. And then, like,
All of the credits shifted and slid and just stopped.
Yeah, that was so good. It was so good. So it's showing that, like, he has some control in this environment too, even though she doesn't want him to. So now there's a third player has entered the chat, unknown malevolent force that is causing the horror and the weirdness in Westview. Wanda and her vision of what that is, and then Vision, who's like, no.
There's just something weird about a guy with such a tiny, high-waisted pants flying in the air and seeming powerful. I was like, I don't see that. But
I mean, if he had his cape, the cape helps.
I kept wondering, I'm like, he's wearing a white shirt. How hard would it have gotten all of his paint on his arms and neck from not going on that shirt? Anyway, sorry.
I mean, that's part of the makeup people's jobs is
I
to
know.
like make sure. But like he had his,
so
his
hard.
sleeves rolled up like I do. Like
When you were Mystique, don't you remember getting blue everywhere? Like,
yeah, I powdered myself really well, but yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But okay, so like they have this fight and wow, is this fight like hard and emotional and like also
Real?
hot?
Oh, okay.
A little bit, like, because they're both powerful and they love each other, but also they're very frustrated with each other and it's so real. And it's like they also love each other. It's all of those things. And like love is complex and hard. And like when we fought, it's like, it's always like that. Like, and then he's like, I'm scared. Like, I don't know what to do. And he was very raw and emotional.
She's like, you've never talked to me like this before. And it's like, good. Like
yeah.
He needs to do that. He needs to express himself, and he's
Yeah.
always. And it's great that he has grown and developed. And in this, the time that has moved on, he's developed as a person as well, and that's telling in that moment.
Yeah, and then like him not remembering what happened before, like, I mean, that's just it's heart-wrenching and would have been. Like he's probably rationalizing it. I don't remember, you know, and then she finally realizes and I've like things are never as bad or as good as you think they are. And so him saying like, I have to turn off the statistical chance that you're responsible for everything to believe you, Wanda, was just so hard. Like this moment when they're like sitting on the couch and they're having that conversation, they've calmed down. Yeah.
It was great. They managed to encapsulate what would take us like 55 minutes
Yeah.
in the span of like 3.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Their fighting is way more efficient than ours. Like that's the truth.
that has to be the case. In any sitcom, they have to take the shortest amount of time as possible.
Yeah. And so like this moment is like it comes out like, how could I possibly be in control of every single person's going to their dentist appointment or walking their dogs? Like, I love that call out to say, how is that even possible? I'm not consciously doing this. And I did like that he was like, I have to believe that this started out as something that, you know, was like subconscious for you.
Yeah, but
It's like-
statistically, everything that's happened,
Yeah.
you're connected to, Wanda. Everything that's happened statistically has happened to your benefit or because of your self-investment.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
so like I just love them so much. They're so good together. And like, this is what you have to do. You end up having fights as a couple. You just have to work it out. And you still have to remember that you love the other person, no matter what. And he's just like, I love that she's like really upset and he's mad at her in some ways. Like, you can't do this. This is not good. And he still is touching her.
Yeah.
Like, that's, wow. So good. Such good direction. And then she's like ding dong, the ding dong happens.
Yep.
And she's like, I didn't do that. So there's other.
But statistically,
I know.
you had to have.
I know.
And also contextually from the show,
I know.
you had to have, because the kids talked about this just moments ago.
I know.
And we've brought up your brother twice.
But I think it could be a little bit of like the, you know, what do you wish for, Wanda? And it's helping to do that. Whatever the other party that we don't know is yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend checking out on YouTube. Look up the commercial from 2013.
Oh, we didn't bring this up. Damn it.
Yes, this is a perfect time for it.
Perfect time.
In 2013, Samuel L. Jackson did a whole bunch of Capital One commercials like, what's in your wallet? You know, I can't do a Samuel L. Jackson, but that's what he says. And one of the cards that he does is the Quicksilver credit card.
Yeah.
And it is ridiculously apropos for a TV show sitcom like this that has these commercials in it already to suddenly have Samuel L. Jackson de-aged to 2013, wearing his glasses, shaved head, walking into his suit, talking about the cashback of the Quicksilver credit card. And it's so funny, some of the lines he says and how they kind of relate to what's about to happen in the show. I saw this commercial tied into a promo that somebody had built because they had been thinking about this themselves.
Yeah.
And so I literally was expecting this the whole entire episode, not knowing, of course, oh, that's a 2013 Samuel L. Jackson Capital One credit card commercial, not connected to this TV show.
Yeah, and so let's talk about Pietro, who shows up at the door. So,
right,
again, Pietro Maximoff, who is not the Pietro Maximoff that we are used to seeing, although his hair has been changed
a little bit. Yeah, a little
bit. It's been adjusted from what we have seen him in the other version, and so like the long and the short of it is, this is just like two companies, so Marvel and Fox. Mm-hmm. With their agreement to split the Marvel universe kind of in twain to produce movies, ended up kind of having co-parental ownership over the Maximoff twins because they were both tied, Quicksilver specifically, to the X-Men as kind of an X-Men rival and supportive person. And
well, they're both directly connected to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants underneath Magneto, which is how they tie into the X universe. But both of them spent a predominant number of years as Avengers, because once they split from the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants,
they joined the Avengers.
They never became X-Men. So they were torn on the property.
And so they said, let's do them both. And how they ended up playing this out was, although they got to use Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, they kind of said, okay, he's going to die off, and you guys get Quicksilver. Wanda's too young in the Fox universe, and she'll never come into reality, and we'll use Wanda. That was the original kind of agreement. Even though they both had kind of rights to them, they didn't want to confuse people.
In the divorce, mom got one kid, dad got the other.
But then
and he's named Peter in the X-Men movies because they really tried to distance, but we know that he's the same character.
We know.
I want to point out this image right here. When this comes up on screen, Marie Claire says out loud while watching it for the first time, she's like, they recast him, which was delightful because 3 seconds later,
we get Darcy.
It pans to Darcy saying the exact same line. And I could not help but laugh uproariously as Marie Claire reads Darcy's lines for her before she says them.
It just shows like where the audience is supposed to be, and that's amazing. But the fact that he's dressed like Uncle Jesse from Full House just ties in even more.
He has an Uncle Jesse attitude. That's exactly what happens in the first episode. Uncle Jesse shows up to help. Single dad take care of the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my goodness. And the fact that he calls Vision a popsicle is so good.
Popsicle.
I do want to point out, like, the last time we see Peter in sort of the X-Men movies, it is 1983 during the Age of Apocalypse movie. And so if you want to have a moment, let's watch that scene that happens, and let's watch it.
Cue it up.
Let's cue it up. All right. So this is the intro, because like we get a few moments where they show up and say like, we need your help because we can't get in here. And this is the intro to this character, and it is like one of the most perfect intros in existence.
The music,
yeah.
So good. And who doesn't want to taste soup? Like soup in a cup.
And then what he does to all the people, it is just so...
I love the impact of his feet on the wall. Like, it's really visceral. Really get to feel what's happening from this special effect.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need to watch Days of Future Past where he was introduced. You can just watch this and be cool with it.
This is not his introduction, but it's such a good moment.
Oh, it's perfect. This is people who are rewatching.
And he takes such care because he's moving at such high speeds. He's very careful with their limbs and their hands and controlling how that guy punches himself, because he could easily just do it the wrong way and the guy's arm would snap from the force of what is being passed through. But just well done directively. Like, just so well done.
Yeah, I thought it would be Ian McKellen that showed up at the front door.
Oh, really? You thought it would be Grandpa?
I thought it would be Grandpa or Mom.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not Apocalypse, but this is my favorite introduction scene to him in the first movie. Sorry. If people are like, wait a second. But the last time we do see the character is in Age of Apocalypse, which is in 1983, which ties to, hey, the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it so much. So, all right. So that was kind of the end of the slideshow and all the information that I had for everybody. But let's talk about what we think is going on. I mean, we kind of said, like, I think there's a third party that either is Dottie or hasn't been introduced, but it's Dottie.
Yep.
Sure. I know you don't want her to be evil, but she totally is.
I'm looking forward to Vision getting to interact with Pietro.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to all of that.
It's going to be awkward.
Because he is not reborn. This is not her brother.
Yeah.
This is not Aaron Taylor Johnson. They did not bring him back. They brought the direct connection over.
Yeah.
Was this actor's name Evan Carter or something? What's his name? Somebody may have said it. But anyway, this actor was the highlight for me in the X-Men movies that he's in. He steals every scene that he's in. He's so funny, and here he is in the perfect role that fits that characterization from the X-Men movies,
and also ties into like the Uncle Jesse like riff on Full House, like him showing up to help take care. Evan Peters is the name of the actor, who, you know, and like they were going to do it because we already knew they were going to do it. I mean, I was hoping for like Magneto, I just thought that would be cool, but this is also perfect. It's also like a really good way to do it. I mean, again, back to the things that enter the hex are real. This is now, like, I suspect he will start to have his memories
from the other reality. That this is MCU, which I don't know what number they use for it because everything else is 616. But if this is the case, they've brought him over from that other reality. We cannot bring a character that's dead back. Wanda's powers are not that. They're not that. But she can, because she said she couldn't. Like, you know, they didn't say bring him back. So this is a way to say, oh yeah, no, I can give us a Pietro.
Yeah.
Just can't bring back that.
I mean, and he called himself Pietro too.
Yep.
So I think he's going to have the memories of the version in this reality.
I think because the other one died and this one hasn't blipped, I think that he might tie both in.
Yeah.
And after Sokovia went back and lived with Mom in the basement.
Yeah, but his hair, like, to me shows that, like, she's made him partially this reality too.
I don't think it's that different.
It is to me.
Okay. Okay.
He had long gray hair. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm just super excited to where they're going. I'm unbelievably impressed with the storytelling in this story, and that they use every aspect of the storytelling, the music, there's audio Easter eggs. There's like every aspect of this show is just all chugging towards the same story, and it's just wonderful. Commercially,
we have seen in the forthcoming commercial for forthcoming episodes, there is a moment where a car or an SUV or truck, I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's an SUV.
It's the thing Monica was talking about?
Well, no, there's a vehicle in the town.
Oh.
And the age of the town ages forward, and the car changes from that 80s version to the modern version, or to a newer version of the vehicle, and it's Wanda's powers doing it with the red wash that's happening across as it's changed. So I just want to point out that I don't know I was going with that. Like, for future stuff, Wanda's abilities are hard-coded at play here.
Yeah. I also think like there might be like some sort of power struggle also happening, and so that's what's reflecting. It's like what is whatever other person is doing, other entity is doing, malevolent entity is doing versus what is Wanda controlling too.
Yeah.
So I do think that although she is framed as the villain, certainly from Hayward, we're also meant to not believe that. And so, I mean, I think that she's partially responsible for kind of not treating people well, and
she has to be, because if we don't say anything like that, it takes away her ownership and her own ability, because what she's getting is what she wants.
I think that there's a mix, and it's more complicated than just one answer, which is always better to say that, because then there's a variety of like, Wanda did XYZ, and yes, she's also done mistakes like Lagos, which is reminded directly in this. But I think that how it started was, like she said, I don't know how this started. I have a speculation and conjecture, and I can kind of like certainly say what that is. I do think that she found Vision's body and was trying to figure out a way to maybe just have him be put somewhere safe, so that, because I don't think that she would have been like, I need to bring him back necessarily. I don't think that was in her character before, even in
So was she traveling with Vision's body and got caught in this town when this happened?
Yes, I actually think that whatever happened triggered, and then she reacted, and I mean, got to get stuff
Why
out
are there
of it.
no kids in this town?
I don't know.
Why are there no kids? I walk by that playground every day, Wanda.
And
there are no kids playing in it. Why are there no kids in this town, Wanda?
That's giving me goosebumps, because it's like they did the whole magic show for the children.
Yeah.
The horror aspects of this show are really hard, but they cover them so well.
Yep.
Oh, when you think about it, you're like, ooh.
Exactly. And much like the horror aspects of this show, we are covering this very well.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully be back next week with more of this exciting and entertaining episodic stuff, to talk about the metatextual pieces, to talk about the mythological piece, and as well talk about the lens through which the show is revealing itself.
It was really well done, and I'm like so brain tired. This was really wonderful, and thank you, of course, wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and joining in the chat. You were very active and had lots of ideas yourself, and we love to see that. We appreciate that you're coming along on this journey with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Make sure to like and subscribe on wherever you happen to be watching this live, or after the fact on a replay, either on the podcast app on What the Fiction or on our YouTube channel here. So make sure to do that, because then you can keep up with all of this. Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
And I will get to wear different hair.
Yes. It's a good thing. The blonde is a little startling. All right. Cheers.
All right, I'm going to go get a leg up. Take it easy.
Oh my God.
On the edge of a dream, two souls meet in the place between. Awake and asleep, looking for answers. The forest floor, the snow, the sea. Too close it seems, running away from destiny. Maybe fate makes fools of us all. Maybe fate makes fools. Wayward winter, you felt the call. inside.